In the entire long history of humanity's fight against deadly diseases, we have exactly one, just one, complete and total victory, an undeniable win. Today we're diving into the incredible story of how we pulled off one of our greatest achievements ever, the total eradication of smallpox.
So let's just start with that number. 1. That's it. That is the number of human diseases we have ever completely, totally wiped off the face of the earth. Just one. And you have to understand, for centuries, smallpox was an absolute terror, responsible for hundreds of millions of deaths.
So the big question is, how on earth did we do it? How did we defeat a killer that had been with us for literally thousands of years? Well, the answer isn't just one thing. It was more like a perfect storm of 3 key factors. We had a uniquely vulnerable virus, we developed the perfect weapon against it, and we came up with a brilliant, coordinated global strategy. So let's start with the virus itself.
All right, first up, the enemy. To beat any foe, you have to understand its weaknesses. And it turns out the Variola virus, the nasty thing that causes smallpox, it had some very specific and, lucky for us, very exploitable fatal flaws.
This right here, this basically lays out the virus's rulebook, and more importantly, its limits. Now, first off, smallpox only infected humans. That is huge. It meant there were no secret hiding spots in animals where it could just hang out and reemerge later. And this is crucial. Every single person who got it showed symptoms. There was no silent, invisible spread. Once you got better, you were done. You couldn't carry it anymore. The virus literally could not hide. It had nowhere to go once we started shutting down all its escape routes.
And this comparison really drives home just how unique smallpox was. I mean, look at other diseases. Polio? It can spread silently from people who don't even know they're sick. That makes it way harder to track. Other diseases need multiple vaccine shots or boosters because your immunity can fade over time. But smallpox, it was an open book. It couldn't hide in animals, it couldn't spread without showing its face, and one good dose of the vaccine pretty much gave you protection for life. In a lot of ways, it was the perfect enemy to target for complete eradication.
Okay, so having a vulnerable enemy is one thing, but you need the right weapon to take advantage of those weaknesses. And that brings us to the next part of our story, developing the absolute perfect weapon.
And that weapon, of course, was the vaccine. But it wasn't just a vaccine. It was the perfect tool for this specific job. It was incredibly effective. It gave you solid, long-lasting immunity. And get this, because this is a huge logistical point, it was heat stable. That meant you could get it to the most remote, hot, tropical corners of the globe without needing a constant, fragile chain of refrigeration. That was a massive, massive advantage.
And then there's this little piece of genius, the bifurcated needle. I mean, look at it. It seems so simple, right? Like a tiny fork with 2 prongs. But this simple invention was a total game changer. It held the perfect amount of vaccine right between its prongs. All you had to do was make a few simple pricks in the skin. This made vaccination way faster, way easier, it used less vaccine per person, and you could teach local health workers how to do it in no time. This little tool is what made vaccinating the entire world actually possible.
So, we've got a vulnerable virus, we've got the perfect weapon. But the final piece of this puzzle was the strategy. This is where human ingenuity and teamwork really came together and turned the tide. This was a truly global, coordinated attack. Now, the first plan was pretty straightforward. Just vaccinate everybody. A real brute force approach. And, it made some progress. But the real breakthrough came from a strategic pivot. The World Health Organization and its partners, they shifted to a much smarter strategy. They called it surveillance containment. Basically, instead of trying to vaccinate billions of people, they started hunting the virus down. And this was the heart of that brilliant strategy, ring vaccination. The idea is so elegant. When a case was found, health workers would literally rush in and vaccinate everyone in the immediate ring around that sick person, their family, their neighbors, anyone they'd been in contact with. What this did was create a firewall of immunity, totally starving the virus of any new people to infect. It stopped outbreaks dead in their tracks. It was just so much more efficient and effective than trying to vaccinate everyone everywhere. So when you boil it all down, you see this incredible victory. It wasn't because of one single thing. It was this winning combination. You had the virus's own biology working against it, a powerful and practical vaccine, a smart and adaptive strategy led by the WHO, and these simple but critical little innovations. All of these pieces had to click into place just right to make the impossible possible.
The story of smallpox eradication is it's an amazing story of success, which leads us to one final, really important question. If we did it once, why haven't we done it again? What lessons can we take from this one-of-a-kind victory for all the other fights we're still in?
Well, the hard truth is smallpox was a uniquely beatable enemy. Most of the other pathogens we're fighting today just don't have those same weaknesses. Many of them have animal reservoirs, right, like the flu. Lots of them spread silently from people who don't even have symptoms, like polio. For many, vaccine immunity isn't lifelong. You need boosters. And on top of all those biological hurdles, we now face modern social challenges, like widespread vaccine hesitancy and misinformation, things the smallpox campaigners just didn't have to deal with on the scale we see today.
But even with all those new challenges, the legacy of this achievement is just so powerful. This quote really says it all. It's this permanent reminder of what we, as a species, are capable of. The eradication of smallpox remains a testament to what is possible when science, policy, and community action align.
And that leaves us with this final thought. The war against smallpox had a perfect enemy, one with fatal flaws. We had the perfect weapon and a brilliant strategy. But the diseases we face now, they're much more complex. They're imperfect enemies. So the question for our time really is, what new combination of science, strategy, and global cooperation is it going to take to defeat them?